Hey guys, Weekly Piano here. We're actually doing this live lesson now. Hopefully everybody will get back on it. Sorry about the confusion with the microphone. Let's see if this is any better. All right. Hey everybody. We're streaming. Got a few people logging on. Okay. Tell me how this sounds. Tell it say it in the chat if you can hear the microphone at a good volume, and then we'll start answering some questions. Yep, live now. It's same. Okay, well, I'll have to. I actually do know how to fix that in the future, but it's gonna have. Oh, I see. That's so weird. Well. Okay. All right. Well, we'll just have to do it at this volume for today. I'm gonna readjust this camera a little bit. I'm gonna fix it for next week. I know how to actually make it better. I know how to make it work better, but it's gonna take a little bit more setup. And I don't want to do that right now because I also do have to go to a thing where there's a label that wants me to hear a record they just did and get my thoughts on it, and I have to go and do that at 2 in Topanga Canyon. So we don't have too much time. Anyway, how's everybody doing? It's really good to see a lot of the same faces here. And I'm enjoying this live, doing this weekly live lesson for you guys. It's kind of cool. I feel like this is going to grow. Somebody just signed up for the Patreon today. What was his name? I have it here. It's Nick. So, Nick, if you're here, thank you for signing up, and thanks for everybody else who's supporting. Now, I'm gonna go to the Patreon page and see if anybody did any questions on the on that public post that I have. Okay, no questions there yet. So you guys can ask questions here. I was just going through with this student named Eric. We were going through favorite things, and that was kind of a fun thing. Was doing the voicings on favorite things. I hadn't really thought about them because it's McCoy Tyner on that recording with hello Simone and Hugo. There's 2 people. It's the McCoy Tyner record, the Coltrane recording where McCoy Tyner's doing his traditional excuse me. Like I said before, I'm a little under the weather today because of a late night last night with lots of really good wine and amazing people over at this place in Beverly Hills with an architect that I want to work with on a house project. So improv exercises. George, you're asking about exercises to help with your improvisation, like soloing, because I could do that. I have a bunch that I've done on these. Have you seen like the octave exercise? So let's talk about let's do my favorite things today, because that's what we were just talking about with Eric, and I'll give you some exercises to work on that. You guys okay with that? With doing all of this based on the My Favorite Things recording? I want you all to listen to the Coltrane version of this. It's live in Paris is my favorite one of his recordings, but he did this like in a bunch of different settings. He did the studio recording of it. But anyway, it starts with like there's the intro. fill. You'll hear that when you go into the recording. Now these voicings are quartal voicings. These are, I have a McCoy Tyner video about this. I actually have several videos about this. Where I go into more detail, but it's 1, 4, 7, 3, and 5. And that's the E minor that you start with, and then you go up to F sharp. Same voicing, so it's just a whole step up. And it's in 3, so you're subdividing the 3. You have your, like, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And if you slow it down and subdivide it, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and you're cutting it in half directly on the 2. So if this is your whole bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and you cut it on the end of the 2, and then you play on the 1 and the end of the 2. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that's a great it's a great way to play in 3 and to subdivide it. Make sure you're swinging the beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 2. To solo over it, for improv exercises, you can. An improv exercise to have over this. If you want to just solo over the beginning part of that to practice your modal soloing. Modal means you're playing in a mode. So this is the E minor, well, E Dorian mode, right? And to practice soloing, I would always break it into 1 octave, B to B. And your comping can be this quartal, so 1, 4, 7, and then 9, 5, 1. And you can keep that pattern up and then solo in the right hand. But keep it in 1 octave. Goal notes as well. See, what I was just doing was I went back up to my goal note, which is the B. I started making that my goal, and then I would go down, and then back up. You see Coltrane doing that in his solos very extensively. He would lay on one note and diverge from it and come back to it and then move his focal point somewhere else. And so thinking about goal notes and and then limiting yourself to 1 octave is a great exercise to practice improvisation in that. Somebody had a question here. Remember regarding miracle voicings. I don't remember calling anything a miracle voicing. I think that term came from somebody else, but I probably played something that was that was using the same concept. So 2 in the left hand, 3 in the right hand, between middle C and 1 octave up. Was that? I mean, there's that voicing. That's a beautiful voicing. Is that what you're talking about, Lacaduce? Because there are different types of voicings. This is a McCoy Tyner voicing. Let's talk about it in C. I'll just go through a bunch of different types of voicings in C minor, because now so we can have a reference point here. That's one type of voicing. It's quartal voicings. Okay, so that's the one. Yeah, so it's the way that this is built is in fourths. Quartal voicings is what they're called. I don't know who called them miracle voicings, but it wasn't me. I think that's kind of a silly name. But it's 1, 4, 7, and minor 3 if you're in a minor key. And the reason for that is because they're in fourths. fourths are a good open way to divide up, to divide up the harmonic structure, because it doesn't get too crunchy. You know, if you do thirds, it sounds more closed. If you do fourths, and then you can't do fourths all the way, because this next fourth would actually be an A flat, which is not in the Dorian mode, and we're using the Dorian mode here. Dorian is a minor with a natural 6. So you could do that if you wanted to, but then that's very dissonant. So instead of that, we just put the 5 at the top there, because the 5 does not, you don't see the 5 in any of the earlier steps of the chordal voicing. So this is the first chordal voicing. The second one is if you move all of this up and use it diatonically within the C Dorian scale, this works. So it's technically also a D minor, but it works within the C Dorian because you have your 9, 5, 1, 4, and 13. And then the next one up is your 3 minor, your 3, 6, 9, 5, 1. And the next one up is this. So 5, 1, 4, flat 7, and 3. And then 6, 9, 5, 1, and 4. And then you're back to 1. So get all of that down. These voicings, it's just those 5 voicings. That's all you need in any given key, but then get that in every key. So then up a half step for C sharp, it's, and then it repeats. All the way up. And same with way too muddy down there, so you don't really want to use it down there. But that's how get all those voicings, and then you can use it in all sorts of. That's what McCoy Tyner would do when he's doing what's called chromatic planing, where you go like. Etc. And the sax player would be, well, in that case, Coltrane would be playing stuff that's going out of the key. Well, McCoy Tyner's going out of the key. And when I say chromatic planing, you take this voice and you move it chromatically, half step up, for example. And it's also a cool way of playing outside of the changes, because you have a structure that you're then morphing around the change. So if you're playing in C Dorian, and you go up a half step, your ear still has something to grasp onto because you're using the same voicing. Up a half step, down a whole step, and back to the center. And then it's actually a lot more complicated than that, how you actually play outside the changes using something like that, because it's between the way that this developed, the way that McCoy Tyner developed this concept was he was playing inside the key, and eventually you have the 5 that leads to the 1, right? So you have your whatever voicing, that's a good 5 voicing for G7, because you have the 7, the 3, the sharp 5, the flat 9, and the flat 5. and then you lead back down to the C. So you could C minor, G7. Now, to get to to get back to the C, what you can also think of when you have your voicing here that is the G7 with all the upper extensions. This is also technically the same notes as an A flat minor, the A flat minor scale. So if you play the G in the bass, but A flat minor at the top, or Dorian really. Then that actually leads you back to the C. So I'm playing G in the bass, and I'm playing A flat minor, well, with the natural 6 voicing in the top. So to the way then to lead up to the A flat minor could be from chromatic planing. So this is where it gets complicated and where you can technically go outside of the changes, because if you're thinking in your mind, I want to go somewhere to G7 that then leads back to C. So let's say the C is just in a timeline. C is over here, and G7 is over here. Now I'm working within this context here, so G7. I just played a line in A flat minor over the G7 because that includes all the upper extensions. A flat minor with the major 6 and 7. It includes all the upper extensions of G7. Like all the altered extensions. So flat 9, sharp 9, 3, flat 5, sharp 5, dominant 7, 1, and back to the flat 9. But I'm playing an A flat minor scale, A flat with the major 6 and 7. So it's actually the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, and it's a lot more simple to internalize and think about. But if you want to then, so that's this section here, if you want to go back another step and create a step to that, you can do chromatic planing and play, for example, an F sharp minor idea. So, and then A flat minor. So you move a whole step, so start on G flat minor, and then A flat minor, and then C. Quickly, but we did F sharp, all over G, we did F sharp minor, or G flat minor, an idea, and then an idea in A flat minor, and then a similar idea in C minor. So you did, you were outside of the changes, going back into the changes, but through a progression that you then created on the fly, and you could do it, you could extend it even further. E minor, F sharp minor, A flat minor, to C minor. Anyway, that's a little, that's a nice diving deep into that specific type of voicing. I'm gonna refresh this the Patreon page to see if there are any questions from patrons on this last post. And okay, there aren't, so I'm gonna answer questions in the stream here from Bob Fridge. How should I practice a jazz standard throughout a time period? Like learning chord progression, transposing, transcribing, and improvising. I know fitting 1 hour in is hard. In other words, how do I structure practice for a new jazz standard throughout a time period, and when is a good time to move on to new standards? I am a big fan of doing a deep dive into a specific standard. How much time do you have to practice, Bob? At like half hour a day? Let me know in the chat here. But and for everybody who's learning jazz, if you're just starting, start with Autumn Leaves. It's a great basic standard where you can, it has two 2-5-1s in the minor and the relative major, and it's something that you can apply to all sorts of other jazz standards. Oh, you have an hour and 20 minutes. Okay. So let's just talk about an hour. I have a practice schedule that I made in a video for 110 minutes, which is just under 2 hours. But let's talk about a 1 hour practice schedule. In fact, let me look on my notes here because I made notes about the 110-minute practice schedule. Let me see if I can find my notes, because then I can condense it. Where did I write this? Hold on one second, everybody. Alright, those are my student files. Oh yeah, I think it was for Sean. Is that what we put together? Yeah, okay, cool. For one of my students, his name's Sean. We had listening, mindfulness, musicality, learning a tune, and then musicality with improvisation. I would base my practice schedule on a specific standard for most of the time that you're practicing. If you've got 1 hour, so let's just say a 60-minute practice schedule. The things that I want you, let's work backwards from what we need to incorporate into the whole thing. So there's listening, mindfulness, musicality, and then a few different aspects. Comping, rhythm, melody, and then there's improvisation. Octave, goal notes, rhythm, exercise. And then there's transcribing. And I'll put this into the chat when I fill this out. But let's talk about this for a minute. So listening, let's just say 5 minutes. I want you to listen to one tune every single day, and it has to be a jazz tune that you love. So pick somebody who you're a big fan of. For me, it's often Keith Jarrett. He's a really great example of all these aspects of musicality that we're talking about. And then there's mindfulness. This you could skip for the sake of brevity in your practice schedule. And I mean, I don't like skipping it, but it's important to get the actual practice time in with the tune. So let's take out mindfulness for the 60-minute one. Let's do musicality next. So you have comping, rhythm, and melody. So we're going to pick Autumn Leaves as our standard here. And in our musicality, in diving into musicality, we're going to start with comping. So I have a video on comping for Autumn Leaves. And obviously everybody knows. Comping with your the things to go through in this are all the various forms of comping, and let's spend like, let's just divide this up into overarching chunks of time, because you're not going to get through all these things every day. You're going to just begin with one aspect of one of these sections. So there's listening, musicality, improvisation, and transcribing. Musicality isn't even, actually let's just call that vocabulary instead of musicality, because musicality is it's a harder term to really visualize what goes into it. So vocabulary, we're talking about comping, rhythm, and melody. So you have to learn all the forms of comping, which begin with just knowing your C minor, like 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 chord, and then your 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 of the next chord. So this is C minor, F7, B flat major, and then your A half diminished, your or it could be either one of these for the D7 to the G minor. You have to know those, but then you have to know how to break them up into, and this all falls within the vocabulary comping section of what you need to learn. So you have to learn your voicings, like the 4-note voicings: C, F, B flat, to know all those types of voicings, and I have videos on all of these as well. But so on your vocabulary, let's just say spend 20 minutes on vocabulary, and then you'll go through your comping, you'll go through your rhythm, and you'll go through your melody. And to get all the rest of the pieces of those, I'm not going to go through them now because I have to get on to some other questions. But look at the 42-minute jazz piano video that I have. It's like how to become a well-rounded jazz pianist in 42 minutes, and I go through all these aspects. But for the practice schedule, spend 20 minutes on vocabulary, which is comping, rhythm, and melody, 20 minutes on improvisation, where you'll do the octave exercise. We improvise within one octave. And then the goal note exercise, where you go up to one note and have that as your focal point. And then there's a cool rhythm exercise that Ruslan showed us in a video that I did with him not too long ago. So you can go and check that video out. So spend 20 minutes on that every day, and just do one aspect of that every day. In fact, do one aspect of that every day for a week. So you work on comping for 20 minutes a day for a week, and then move on to maybe another form of comping or rhythm or melody. And then in improvisation, do one of these exercises for 20 minutes, and then the next day do a different exercise. And then I want you to also be transcribing something. So spend 15 minutes with one of your favorite recordings, just learning how to play it. So play it over and over and over again, and just play along to it until you get it. And that'll give you your 60-minute practice schedule. And I'm going to copy this and put that in the chat here. Oh, alright, that came out weird. Sorry. Okay. I'm putting that in the comments. Ooh. Okay. Cool. Hey, what's up, Rachel Thomas? Alright, Rachel's one of my Patreon supporters, so what do you say there? Blues? Put the weight of your right hand into the right and weight of left hand in the left, and you will... Oh, you're talking two blues. How practice SATB combined with voice leading, so picking the right inversions to support a nice soprano line. Ah, good question. How do you say that? Blueies? Is that how you pronounce your name? And yeah, Rachel, that's a great answer. I love that you guys are answering each other's questions in here. That's beautiful. Yeah, Chet Baker is great, Bob. That's a really great solo to transcribe. I think I vaguely remember that. But Chet Baker was very musical. So yeah, for the SATB voicings, which you're right to call those that because that's exactly what they are. The thing about that is you're not actually like you can use that as a melodic function when you are in a solo section. In fact, Keith Jarrett does that sometimes. You can like if you have your drummer and bassist going along with you, you could be like well, see, this would require like thought. If that were to be so that my melody there that I was trying to find was like is my video frozen? Huh, how weird. Let me look at the phone real quick. Oh, because I'm on low battery. Alright, I'm going to plug my phone in. Hold up. That should help. Sorry, guys. Okay. That should be better. Is it better? Did it freeze again? Stupid phone. Trust the computer. I don't know why. It's alright. Now it should actually stay working. Technical issues. Alright. Great. Cool. So for voice leading, that's actually a really Louise, that's a really good it's a really good question. It's something that I haven't thought about very much, is like voice leading within the context of a solo using the 4-note voicings. So if I had a melody where I wanted to go, let's just say that's my melody in Autumn Leaves, and it's change every chord, so like the way that I would do that is you want to make sure that your chords are not your chords are not too you're not doubling any voices. Sorry, there's also someone vacuuming outside my studio, which is annoying. So you want to make sure that you're not doubling any notes, and you are using the chord tones within the context of whatever chord it is that you are that you've moved towards. So this is my C minor, and this is my melody note, and you have to think about this. It's something that you'll have to put together, like slowly, and then learn. And then gradually use in your solos. So if this is my melody, and I want to switch on every chord, it's C minor first, and then I want to go to F, which is the 5 of B flat, and I want this to be my melody, then I extrapolate down from there. So something that is about a fourth away, a third or a fourth, would be the 7, so you have a 3 and then 7, and then down from there, you're 5. Because if you do it another tritone, then you're doubling your melody note, which you don't want to do. So I would put the 5 there, and then the flat 9. So your A diminished, you could use your 7. So that's a good voicing. The 3, 7, 1, and flat 5, or 3, 7, 9, and flat 5. The natural 9 is a great one to use on the diminished, on the half diminished scale. And then your 5, your D. So the 7, 3, sharp 5, and sharp 9. Down to the 1. 3, 7, 9, and 5. So you have to build that out and then learn it so that you can do it more quickly. And then you have your voice leading with the chordal voicings. Can you guys hear me all right? By the way, not with the vacuum going out there. If you can't, let me know because I'll go tell them to stop. So all right, the way you look tonight. That's actually a really fun one. Dr. D, I'm going to elaborate on that, but let me just see about this vacuum outside. 1 second. All right. Cool. All right, this should be better. Let's talk about the way you look tonight. I love that tune. Now, check out the Keith Jarrett recording of this. Yeah, I asked them to stop. Check out the Keith Jarrett recording of this. You'll notice at the very beginning what's his name? Gary. I can't remember his last name. What the bassist in that recording does is he does 1, 4, 3, 6, 2, 5, which is fucking brilliant. So it ends up being like. Of changes to go around, because the actual song itself is very simple. If you go back to, I think it's the Nat King Cole version or some of the popular vocal versions that were, in the day when the song was really popular, it's like 1, 6, 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5. Now it's a 2, 5, 1 to the 4. Back to the 5 to the 1. Very, very simple song. Yeah, Gary Peacock. That's right. Sorry. But when it's taken into a jazz standards context, it's you can elaborate hugely on those changes, and then when you're playing, that's one of the beautiful things about that trio, is you have Keith Jarrett who's following the changes, but not necessarily playing all of them. You're not just outlining them. You're not going like. Because that gets really boring because you have no substance to that and no melody. The beauty of it is when Gary Peacock is going, Keith Jarrett could be going like. Sorry, I'm messing up because I'm also trying to multitask here in what I'm thinking about telling you guys. But so there are a lot of changes going on, and it's good to know the changes and know how you can extrapolate out to make the changes more frequent, but you're not going to play through all of the changes. You're going to play sort of like with the knowledge that the changes are happening, but melodically in the context of the one. Because all the melodies that when I'm playing, I'm thinking of them in relation to the one. But your brain still knows that when it's on the 6, even though you're playing in relation to the 1, this is the 5, 4, 3, 4, 5 of the 1, but it's also the 7, 6, 5, 6, 7 of the 6 of the D. And so you know which notes to play to then lead to the next chord, which is the 2, then to the 5. So you're sort of actually keeping 2 layers of thought in your mind. This first top layer is the melody that is the most important as it relates to the 1. And that has to do with motivic development, because you have your like the melody of the song. Right, that's a motif, and then repeats the motif up, repeats the motif up. It's a very diatonic melody, and it's very simple. It just uses 1 goal note and 1 motif. The 1 is the goal, and the motif is... And you could do a whole solo using that motif and that goal note, and extrapolate out from there. Like, to the bridge. And so the bridge is a 2-5-1 to A flat. So, and then when you're in A flat, it's just the 1, 6, 2, 5, 3, 6, 2, 5. You could also put the 4 in there. So 1, 4, 3, 6, 2, 5. Sorry. They do in the, I don't know if this is in the original song, but it goes to F minor, which is the 6 up now of your new A flat major, and then back to 2-5-1 to F major, which is actually absolutely brilliant, because this being your minor 6 and also your minor 1 if you're speaking relative to the original key, makes your brain go like, okay, this is sort of home base, but it's not really home base because it's minor now. But if we go now back to 251 to the major, then oh, that thing that was minor and was home base sort of is now actually fully the real home base, which was major originally. So the way to solo over that is internalize all those aspects of the changes and be able to make the changes more complex, or just more frequent, but don't necessarily play over all of them, but have them all like internalized as you're going. So if I were to play over that, it would be like it would sound like this. So let's just, and I'll do it slowly. That's one chorus of it. And granted, I'm really not at my top game right now, guys, because it was a late night last night, with too much really nice wine, and so my playing isn't top notch right now. But I'm still I want to give you these ideas to go over with the changes, and to practice it, do the octave exercise. Stick within one octave. Yeah, so that's a good exercise to do. Anybody else have any more questions? There's the way you look tonight that we just did. Otherwise, I gotta go in just a minute here. So we're going to call it for today. In fact, you know what? That's a good point to call for today. Yeah. So thank you guys for logging on, and I'm not sure if I'll put this video up because because I'm a little tired today. But maybe let me know if you really want it up, and maybe I'll just like send you a private link to it if you were here, and then come back next week, and real quickly I'll answer Rachel's question about ostinato left hand, because I'm not sure, but Rachel, what are you asking about the ostinato in the left hand? Because I mean, I rate these tunes where I have a constant, like a real ostinato. so that's how I use ostinatos. But I guess there are other ways to use it. If you're thinking of an ostinato as just like the single note that you could continue to use in your comping, that might be kind of cool to think with the melodic counterpoint in like the upper voice of your left hand. Like if you're doing In the Way You Look Tonight. Oh, your brain can't stand ostinato in improv? I can't quite understand the question. Because you can have an ostinato and have really cool improv over it. Like, oh, how do you start to work with ostinatos? Well, okay. A lot of music has an ostinato in it. In fact, almost all music has an ostinato. It's only jazz that has strayed from that as far as our historical genres of music. But usually a drum beat is an ostinato. Any drum beat is an ostinato because it's a repeated pattern. So I would start by, like, if you're trying to improv over an ostinato, I mean, this is one that I love to do. I love to replicate the guitar ostinato. The way to learn that is practice it for a long time in your left hand until you really get it. But don't even start with that. Practice with like start with that. And then move your chords around as you're improvising. Melodies and put a metronome on so you can get this solid with the metronome, and then with the syncopation. So this is the one with the syncopation, and that's a lot harder to do. And I'm also stretching my hand way out. So you'll have to practice that for a long time to really get it. But once you get that with the metronome, then and slow it down. Like practice it as slowly as you need to do to get it solid, and then practice doing melodies in your right hand while you're doing that left hand before you even move it around. And don't use the pedal also. I'm using the pedal to make it pretty, but when you're learning it, don't use the pedal. that's it for today, guys. Thank you for your great questions, and I will talk to you again next week. It's really great to see all the familiar faces here, and happy practicing. Thanks, guys. Bye.